What's going on YouTube? Josh here checking in. If you guys watched the last video, which I realized came out about a week ago, I did mention at the very tail end of that video that I broke it up into two parts just because nobody wants to watch me lift for 15 minutes. So after all that squatting, low bar, high bar, I moved on to some sumo deadlifting, some straight leg deadlifts, and some banded hip thrusts. So if you've been watching the channel for a while, you might notice that this sumo form is not quite the way I normally pull. This is only 405, so not going heavy at all because I am working with some funky form here. I am mixing it up a little bit, and sometimes I do like to do this with my sumo. I call it like a revised sumo or whatever you want to call it. That's just how I write it down in my programming. But essentially what I'm doing here is I'm trying to keep my hips a little bit lower. Therefore my chest will be upright. I'm trying to really drive with my legs and do my best to kind of keep my hips as close to the bar. So all of those cues I'm sort of thinking about, not all simultaneously of course, and the reality is that a lot of times just thinking of one or two cues will end up affecting multiple aspects of your form. One thing I will say, if you are going to toy around with form and start doing some funky stuff, do not do that with your 90%. Don't be an imbecile. This is very lightweight for me. And you'll notice that because I'm really trying to be diligent with the form, that it tends to be relatively slow, especially off the ground. I've noticed, at least with the sumo, of course the sumo is slow off the ground to begin with, but when you're messing around with form and you're really trying to stay within a strict, ideal, so to speak, it's not the time to be using really heavy weights or to be very aggressive with your speed until you've really gotten the form down, because what tends to happen is the more aggressive you get, the kind of more form breakdown you get. So you see here it's relatively slow for 405, and the reason for that is because I'm really trying to be diligent and allow my legs to break the floor and stay upright as opposed to just shooting my hips up. So what you'll notice, I think it should be this next rep, the bar kind of comes a little bit forward on me, and I think it's probably just because I was a little bit fatigued, but it's also, it's definitely challenging for me because I'm not used to keeping my hips so close to the bar, so maintaining all of that definitely felt a little funky for me. So moved on to some straight leg deadlifts. Was not going too heavy this day, but just getting in that accessory work, so to speak. The straight leg deadlift has definitely been a staple in my deadlift training probably for the past 18 months, maybe almost 2 years at this point. And honestly, it is probably going to stay for a while. I've toyed around with a bunch of other deadlift variations, snatch grip deadlift, block pulls, all different kinds of stuff. And honestly, I find that as far as deadlift accessories go, for me personally, I just really enjoy the straight leg deadlift, and I think it's got a lot to offer for development of the posterior chain, specifically when it comes to kind of hypertrophy work, so to speak. I generally don't go too heavy on these. Not saying that you can't. There's no reason why you can't per se. But I usually just I tend to do these beltless, and my goal is always to maintain a neutral low back. So one thing that I've found dealing with, coaching clients, whether it be in person or online, is that a lot of people struggle with the straight leg deadlift. So if you guys would be interested in a video of some specific cues that I like on the straight leg deadlift, definitely let me know in the comment section below. Not sure if that's something that would be beneficial for you guys. I finished up with a bunch of sets of banded hip thrusts, and one thing that's nice about this movement is, since it's obviously hardest at the top, one thing that you can do if you're, having a good day, maybe you're not quite strong enough to add more band tension, but what you can do to make it harder is for your last rep especially, I like to hold sometimes for like a 4, 5, 6 count, maybe even a 10 count if you've got it in you. So that's just a quick tip for the banded hip thrust. Anyway guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to give it a like. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Somebody should have told you I'm on one.